everybody, I'm John Holliday, Senior Product Development Manager here at YKK, and we're at the Outdoor Retailer Summer Show, and I just want to bring you another installment of our Tech Talk series just to go through a few items today, all focused on promoting the ease of use of zippers or just general quality of life improvements. Just without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it for our first item, which is our insert support slider. And I think the best way to demonstrate that is to first show the standard item. This is just our normal number 3 coil open-end zipper. It has our typical rounded coil die-cast slider shape. And what it does is it has a very small slider mouth opening in pin shape. And this can be a little bit challenging to properly insert that pin and nest it into the open parts, especially when you're operating this zipper really far from your eyes on a jacket. So what we've done here is we've taken that number 3 coil slider, and what we've added is we've extended the bottom surface of the slider as well as have a cutaway on the top surface. And what this is going to do is just going to give you a wider slider mouth opening to make it easier to insert that pin in. It's also, outside of just giving it a little bit more ease of use and giving you generally more room for error, it's going to let you have a more aggressive angle that you can bring that pin in, and then it'll correct itself and seat itself into the open parts box. Availability wise, this is already doable in number 3 coil. It's out of our YKK Japan location specifically for the slider, but you can supply it to pretty much any of our production locations. And the price difference is pretty minimal compared to your standard slider. Another benefit is it'll use the same tab pull shapes that you're used to, whether that's a standard pull tab shape or a custom pull that you already have developed. And overall, the same quality and strength is the same as our standard number 3 coil slider. Another highlight, and we'll have another feature of our product here, is we have our 4.5 FK FLATKNIT AquaGuard zipper. This is a very thin and lightweight AquaGuard zipper, and it also has a little bit smaller components with it being an in-between size from 3 and 5 versus your standard number 3. So this also features that same cutout feature across this new zipper chain series as well. Just a little gold nugget of information there for you to know. Our next item is the Smooth Operation Zipper, specifically for number 5 coil. And everything that we've done here with the changes is looking at improving both that opening and closing operations of the zipper, so that force that you encounter when moving that slider up and down. And the way we've gone about doing that, and I'll just take this zipper apart to demonstrate, is we took this coil monofilament, which is used to form the elements, and we've adjusted almost all of those dimensions on that component that forms this coil-like feature for the element heads. So what we did is we analyzed how those elements are coming into the slider, and as they work their way down the slider, they contact one another, and there's various points of contact and therefore friction that's giving you that resistance of the slider when you bring it down. So what we did is we adjusted not only the diameter of the monofilament, but also the width of it across the single zipper stringer, and then the element head. So I like to think of it as like this knuckling action. We slightly reduced the size of that head, again, to reduce the friction as it comes together. We also changed the sewing thread to be less friction encountered with that, so it's a little bit of a different material, and it's going to give a very smooth overall benefit to it with these things working in combination. Big applications I see for this, the first thing that comes to mind for me is when I'm thinking outdoor jackets, those ventilation zippers, or pit zips as they're known as. I don't know if you've ever tried to open one of those while you're actually out hiking. It's very difficult or cumbersome to try and open that depending on the orientation, the tightness of the jacket, and the fit. So sometimes I've even had to have somebody help me as I hold the fabric to open that. This is going to provide a lot less resistance in that application. Another very good use of this is, say, on pants, anywhere that you might have an accessory pocket or a hand pocket. With the pants being more rounded for the leg shape or the fabric being more tended to bunch up, this will make it much easier to just simply open the zipper with one hand than having to use a support hand to do the same thing. The last example I have is, say, something like an inner pocket on a vest. Again, very similar to the pants. I want to be able to open up my jacket and very easily pull down that zipper. So this item is currently available now for number 5 coil. We call it our 5CIG. It's available out of our YKK Dalian location and is about a 10% upcharge versus the standard number 5 coil zipper. It uses the same slider that you're accustomed to for number 5, so just like the previous item, all the same pull tab shapes and slider function that you're used to. I will mention that when we change this monofilament shape and it has a little bit less interlocking action, it does lower some of our chain strength standards, particularly our folding crosswise and our chain puncture strength. And that's just due to the nature of reducing that friction by making that monofilament slightly smaller. The only other thing I want to highlight is the sewing thread. Since we did change materials, it does absorb the dye stuff in our dye process a little bit differently, so there could be a slight color discrepancy on certain colors, so just something you want to know if you use this to double check that when you develop a new color. And then lastly, if you need a smaller size, we have developed this for number 3 coil as well. It has the same type of benefit, at least a 50% improvement in the operation resistance, again for opening and closing if you do need that smaller size. This is known as 3CIG for number 3 coil. It's developed out of our Shanghai location and has a little bit higher upcharge at 25%, but it does come with a recycled tape as well as that recycled monofilament, so just going ahead and converting those to recycled materials. And the last item we have today is the Snag-less Zipper. Not necessarily snag-proof, but trying to address some of those primary snagging situations that the zipper can have with the fabric. And I'm going to bring in a couple of fabric samples here to demonstrate that, but this is our typical coil zipper, number 5 coil, standard zipper tape with a standard slider profile shape. And what can happen is fabric can approach from the side and get caught in the slider rail, as well as in the most difficult situation, fabric can come up from the center and then become stuck. So what we've done here is we've made some pretty small but significant changes with the zipper tape. One is by adding this piping tape here, and it's going to help protect and divert fabric away from this slider rail, which does have a little bit of a gap to not run across the zipper tape. The biggest change, or the most noticeable, is with the slider shape itself. So what we've done is we've revised this shape to no longer have this more rounded, typical slider shape we have, and now it's much more of an extended, more V shape, similar to Vislon zippers. And then we also have offset the top and the bottom of the slider body, so it's a little bit more of an offset to not give a straight face, which will help. In the case of the standard zipper, it has a flat surface and it's more susceptible to be pulling into the slider. With this concave-like feature here, as well as the stacked nature and the V shape, it's going to help to kind of push that fabric out of the way to mitigate some of these most common fabric snagging conditions. Application-wise, we do have this now just in chain and slider, so we're targeting things like tents with that front flap and a little bit thinner fabric, as well as sleeping bags since they're more down-filled and can lend themselves to having more issues with fabric snagging. Another good future application we have is with, say, like down-filled insulated jackets. Very similar to sleeping bags. They have a little bit more of a puffed up fabric and kind of work their way into the slider. So with that, we are looking at developing this for more an open-end application in the future. So we can have this more unique function for maybe an apparel downfilled, as well as developing a DU slider for, say, for sleeping bags where you need to access the pull tab on both sides of the zipper. Just other things to note with this, the strength of this item is the same as the standard number 5 coil zipper. As I mentioned, it's currently only available in chain and slider, but we are looking at expanding this to open-end function as well as that DU automatic locking slider with a tab available on both sides. This product with chain and slider is coming to commercialization in August of this year. It'll be available for our Shanghai production location. And the cost will depend on what you're currently using, maybe the difference, whether it's RC or EYL or number 5 coil, but something to consider as you look at plugging this into your new product. Again, I want to thank you for joining me today, this latest installment of the Tech Talk video, and thank you for making it this far in the video. If you have any questions about these items, please feel free to go to our digital showroom website or to reach out to your YKK sales representative. Again, thank you for coming today, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.